Welcome back to the show, everybody. This is the Upper Tier Podcast. It's Shankly Sessions time. It's a preview for the Community Shield coming at you Sunday. Liverpool versus Crystal Palace. Me and the main man Dino back on your screens. This is our first one of the season. Our first Shankly Sessions get together, and we're going to be bringing you a hell of a lot more. But we're going to preview the Community Shield tonight. We're going to get Dean's thoughts as well on some of the news coming out and stuff like that. Going to get his thoughts as well on the signings, the ins and the outs. And as always give us your opinion. Join us in the chat. Let us know what you think as well. As always, we'll break down both teams and all the rest of it. But just make sure you're subscribing, liking, and hitting that bell notification button both on your phone and on your laptop as well. Really, really important. Dano, how are we?
I'm good, my friend. I'm looking forward to the game. It's good to have the football back. This time next week, we'll be 34 minutes into the first league game of the season. So good to have it back.
Very exciting. Yeah, absolutely. And this is the week before 9 months of anxiety kicks in, and anger and joy and every emotion you can go through, of course. And of course, it's a massive season coming up for us as well as we try and defend the crown, something we haven't done in a long time. But also it'll be an interesting season, obviously carrying the tragedy of Diogo Jota passing away and Andre Silva. That will weigh heavy on us, no doubt, but no doubt the lads will go out and do their absolute best for in Diogo's memory. But yeah, we'll get into this anyway. But sure, before we start, Chelsea at the moment, 78 minutes gone, are beating Bayer Leverkusen 1-0. Brentford are 1-0 down to Borussia Mönchengladbach. Newcastle 1-0 with Espanyol. They were 1-0 down. Just to let you know, in the Premier Division here, Derry City Cork 0-0 half time, and Drogheda Waterford 0-0 half time. And to bring you up to speed in Division 1 as well, Bray getting beaten 2-0 at home to Cove Ramblers at the moment, 38 minutes gone. Not the result they would have wanted. Dundalk 2-1 up. Yeah, that's the game. That's the key game. These are the 6 pointers. Kerry and Finn Harps 0-0, and the Students at the moment 0-0 against Wexford UCD. So we'll keep you bang up to date now. And also Birmingham and Ipswich 0-0 in the championship kicking off, of course. I don't know, did you get to watch the Birmingham documentary with Tom Brady?
No, I was seeing the clip though of
very good
of him questioning Wayne Rooney's work ethic.
Yeah.
He's a lot to learn, but yeah, it's on the watch list anyways. I'm only hearing good things about it.
Yeah, it's very, very good, I have to say now. Really enjoyed it and stuff like that. To the point where I think I want to keep an eye this season on Birmingham and Wrexham, because they're obviously the two documentaries we've watched. Yeah, so like it'd be interesting to see. Go on, yeah.
Looking at some of Wrexham's signings, they have to be in with a shout of promotion. If they were to get promotion again, like that's some fairy tale story. And because I think we've all become attached. Have you watched Welcome to Wrexham? That's another one. That's absolutely fantastic.
Very good.
To see the two boys coming in, you know, everyone knows when big superstars are coming into buying football clubs, you have to wonder what the motives are. But the boys have put 1,000,000% into it, and they've been there every step of the way. That's what you want from your owners. It's just the fact that the two boys are global superstars, that there's a major spotlight on them. But it's amazing to see two boys coming in, and you wonder when they're coming in about their knowledge of football, but they've come in and having that documentary and seeing what they've invested into the club, both financially and stuff like that. It's absolutely outstanding. I think unless you're supporting a team that's going to be there or thereabouts at the end of next season, I think everybody's rooting for them to get promoted.
Yeah, wouldn't the fairy tale really be if Birmingham and Wrexham got promoted? That would be just sensational, moving up through the division, stuff like that. And yeah, it is great to see it. And I agree. Like sometimes you question these motives and stuff like that, and like why they're doing stuff like that. But I think if you watch season 1 of Wrexham, you could tell the way they went to Wrexham and spoke to the locals, and you know, going to the pubs and the beers and the chat and you know, trying to you know, presented as it's more than just investing in the club. They wanted to invest in the city and the local area and regenerate the whole place and all. And it's so cool. And like, you know, for the amount of work both clubs are put in at this stage, with Brady on the other side, with Birmingham as well, I hope they get promoted because they deserve Premier League money. That's for sure.
There's a great moment in the Wrexham documentary where they secure promotion, and there's a pitch invasion, and the two boys are in the stand and just in complete shock of what they've witnessed, because I don't think they really understood the magnitude of what's being achieved. and then the two of them break down in tears in each other's arms and all. It's class. It is fairy tale stuff. I really do hope they go up. I'm looking forward to it. They've brought in some good experience. Well, Conor Cody's gone in there as well, so I'd imagine he'll take the captaincy. And fingers crossed.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be really interesting. So I said this season we'll keep an eye on both of them as well. We'll touch base with them on a Monday and see how they're getting on and all, So pretty cool. Let's go into the chat first. Warren's in there. Warren, we're about to start another season, buddy. Another season of YouTube and content creation, rumor, opinion, banter. The whole work's about to start again. How short the summer felt. Keith is in. Big up, Keith. Hey, lads, I'm going for the Premier League to start again. Your weekends feel a miss. When there's footy on, absolutely. And Baz is in. I was talking to Baz earlier. Big up, Baz. Love you, man. And Nick is in. Big up, Nick. Good to see you, pal. Make sure you're liking and subscribing as well. Nick, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, hit that bell notifications button as well. Lots of content coming our way. We're going to be doing a watch-along for the live SmackDown in the 3 Arena. We're going to be doing a watch-along for Clash in Paris. You never know. We might start putting in some football watch-alongs as well. We'll see what time allows us. But yeah, we had a lot of fun last weekend on the SummerSlam one and stuff like that. And again, make sure as well you're checking out what's his name, Sean O'Rourke's interview with Leon Slater as well. Did a stellar little interview there with Leon Slater the other day. And thank you to TNA and to Simon and all the crew over there for the opportunity and stuff like that. We really appreciate it. And we appreciated their hospitality when we were over there at Unbreakable in Vegas. We had a great night and stuff like that. Right, let's talk. First of all, we'll talk a little bit of news. So let's talk about that. I picked out a few things today that just came across. Get your thoughts on some of these. So the one thing I did say, and you remember when we signed Frimpong, I said that I don't necessarily think we're signing Frimpong as a right back. I think that he might have that winger in him as well, and that I wouldn't be surprised if Frimpong was the guy to go in and take that Salah spot while he's at the AFCON or whatever, or if he happened to get injured or something like that. And Slot was talking about that today, and he dropped that little admission that, they did buy Frimpong with also that in mind and stuff like that as well. So that's pretty cool,
I think I just think on Frimpong, it's been a topic of conversation amongst a lot of Liverpool fans. I just going into the new season, I think you want a bit of security in your back five. Like obviously Alisson, when he gets back to match fitness, he's going to be straight in. Kirk, as you'd imagine, will probably start the season. He's outstanding. We've seen that last season. Van Dijk and Konate aren't going to be boards, but I think you want to be going into the start of the season with Bradley starting as your right back. I think Frimpong has a lot to learn. Defensively, he's very exciting to watch. He is a fantastic player, but for myself personally, and I know a lot of other Liverpool fans agree, I think going into the start of the season, you definitely want to be starting with Conor Bradley just for the security. He knows what the Premier League is all about. He knows Bournemouth. It's going to be a tough game on Friday. So yeah, I just think Frimpong has a lot to learn defensively, and it's being talked about as well that he is the obvious choice to go in on the right side when Salah goes to the AFCON. You see what he can do attackingly with the football. He's phenomenal stats for goals and assists the last couple of years in the Bundesliga. So yeah, I'd be happy to see him going out into the right wing when Salah does head off for the AFCON. It's another one of those, the Kelleher situation. You're not going to be questioning, you're not going to be doubting it. He's ready to go in there, but just defensively, I think hold back on that for a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the one thing that I noticed in this preseason, and let me know your thoughts on it as well. Like last season, we were very patient, very controlled, held on to the ball. Our use of the ball was excellent. We didn't give up. We didn't cough up possession easy and all. We were always in control of games. And then I look at this preseason, and we're back to heavy metal gung-ho again. And it's insane. I don't know if you caught the Milan game. I think at least twice or three times they caught us on the transition. And they broke through the press. And the next thing they were in on goal and stuff. Liao obviously is a speed merchant and stuff like that. But a number of times it felt like we were really pushing forward maybe a bit too much. At one stage, I think there was a ball played into the box, maybe in the Milan game. And Konate was getting on the end of it. I was thinking, what the hell are you doing? And this wasn't even a set piece or a free kick. This was build-up play, like. And I was
It
there
was
going,
like watching Marco Bielsa's Leeds. It was like what's going on here?
yeah,
Where's the
yeah,
conservativeness gone? It's like,
yeah,
and I said it to a couple of lads in work. It's just gone from being, as you said, controlled, keeping the ball, attacking
mm,
it's right to attack, and just controlling games. And now we've just gone. I'm like looking at the team, and I'm like, do we not have any defensive minded players here?
yeah.
It's like all 10 outfield players want to get up into
Where's
the
the
box.
where's the It's like as if, do you know what it was like? It was like as if everyone in preseason was on trial for their position, and
Yeah,
everyone wanted to be the one who created or scored or did something outrageous. And I get it with the younger guys, with the likes of Rio and the likes of Ignoni and all. They're out there, they play with a freedom, they're young and stuff like that. And even in the youth, there's a little bit of naivety there as well of what's
yeah.
so important in your game, and trying so hard to impress and stuff like that. And both had a stellar preseason as well. And I think from a youth point of view, I think our future is very, very bright.
But just
Um,
just just on that, Noel, like how refreshing is it to have that competitiveness in the squad? Because there's been
yeah,
probably about 6 years of Klopp's reign where I think you knew the starting 11
mm,
every week, bar injuries, and there was never any competition for places. And now there is all over the place. So I'd imagine we're going to bring a centre back in. It looks like Guay or Leone from Parma, I believe.
yeah,
Um, and then hopefully we get the Isaac deal over the line.
mm,
I'd like to bring in a left winger to replace Diaz, but just it's a lot to take in, but it's also amazing to have that competition because
yeah,
I was heavily critical of that there was never any no there was none to push Trent to another level. Robbo
mm,
was the best left back in the world at one point, but there was no one behind him. Simicast was never a threat to Robbo.
mm,
Salah, well, no one was ever going to take Salah out of the team, but you know what I mean.
yeah. If they sign Alexander Isaac, right, and he comes in, does that change the narrative on the left side? Because obviously Ekatike can play out there. We've seen it in preseason, look pretty good. You've obviously got Cody Gakpo out there as well. And then you have the boy Rio coming through. So if we were to sign, and I'm not saying don't, if we were to sign a Barcola or a Rodrigo or something like that, does it push the opportunity for Rio there to? I know he's still only young; he's 15, going on 16 or whatever. He's only a kid, like, and we don't want to mount that kind of pressure on him. But it's hard when you see a talent like that in preseason not to keep him somewhere involved. Now, I heard today that they've promoted Ignoni and all. He's going to stay now. He's first team squad member now, which is absolutely
Yeah,
stellar. Because he's been knocking on the door now a couple of seasons, to be honest, on that,
yeah,
But I just my concern for Rio would be, how do you balance both and stuff like that? And obviously, you're not going to declare four wingers in your squad, in that position and stuff like that. And obviously Cody as well, who's a big part of what we do as well. What happens then with Cody, and do you switch it? Now it's great to have the options and for the gaffer to have the headache, but you got to try and find a way as well of keeping everyone happy as well in this conundrum and stuff. And we're going to talk about that when we look at the lineups against Crystal Palace. I questioned myself a few times on it, and you have yours written down there as well. So we haven't seen
yeah.
each other's. So it'll be interesting to see what you went with, what I went with. Is there a difference? Is there a difference in the setup, in the players, and the choices, whatever it is, But we'll have a look anyway shortly when we come to that. What did you make of this whole Fenerbahce link to Allison and stuff like that? Allison ain't going out of the building anyway and stuff like that. But they had made an inquiry about him, Jose Mourinho's Fenerbahce. So, but I don't see Allison going anywhere. Do you?
No, I believe that. I believe that came in when he had to head home for personal reasons. I do
Mm,
believe it was something to do with his wife had surgery or she was ill or something like that.
okay.
But there was a lot of question marks because people are gonna with their clickbait saying,
Mm.
"Oh, he's falling out
Why
with
is he
Slot.
left
He
the group?
wants it.
Yeah, yeah.
Why is he left the group?"
Mm,
Um, I can't. Obviously staying, but I think maybe depending on how the season goes for Mamadashvili, if he doesn't settle, and has a few bad games, I think they could push Allison for a new deal. There was rumours at the start of summer that Allison was
mm,
was willing to sign a new deal. So look, we see how that goes. But no, he's definitely not going away this
yeah.
summer, anyways.
And I believe I haven't heard any update. I'm not too sure. Maybe it's happened, but we're close on a new contract for Kanate, aren't we? from what I believe.
Yeah, the rumors are they're not far off a middle ground, which is great news. With Gomez getting injured, Quansah leaving, I think Stevenson can play centre back, but I just think it's a bit too soon for that kind of pressure. Endo can play in there, but I think this was kind of a critical point of the summer that we had to get this one across the line, because if he wasn't willing to sign the new deal, we were going to try and push him out the door, and there's just not enough. There's not enough manpower there to let him go. So I'm glad to hear that they're close to a middle ground, and hopefully we do get in another centre back as well, because just on the situation with Rio, and we're saying, like, what do you do if you bring another left winger in? We've been talking about this a lot the last couple of weeks. I've been raving about this guy for months, as you know, and we've been talking about him a lot in the group with the lads, and like, he reminds you of Michael Owen when he came on the scene. He's fearless. He doesn't care who's in front of him. You could be the worst player on the pitch, or you could be, a global superstar. He doesn't care. He does his talking with his feet. I was seeing a video of him the other day heading home from training in a taxi. He pulled up outside the ground to sign shorts for kids and signing boots and balls in a taxi, and I was like, this guy's getting taxis home. He's not even near eligible to drive, but he's ready for Premier League football, in my opinion. I just think that Gakpo is obviously going to be your first choice left winger. But the worry would be if Gakpo was to pick up a prolonged period of time injury, would Rio be ready for that pressure of every 3 or 4 days, once the Premier League, the Champions League, you have cup games coming in?
It's a lot on a kid, isn't it? It's a lot to expect of a kid.
I do believe he's ready, but I just think you can't go into the season with only 2 options there.
Well, we've a little bit of a conundrum, haven't we? Because I mean, obviously Darwin's after going, Diaz is after going, and obviously the Jota tragedy as well. So that's 3 spots there. So you would imagine if we're not going for another winger, and then Ekitike is going to be in there as one of those strikers along with Isaac. If Isaac comes in, then we need to go for a winger. If Ekitike is going to be the guy that goes out for the winger, then we need to be going for Isaac and probably one other, don't we? Realistically, 100%. I think that's the way it goes. Now, Warren was in with a great question here. Do you think Ben Doak will get the chance this season? From what I heard, he's heading to Leeds or West Ham. Both have expressed an interest in him. I presume it would be a loan, as far as I know. What have you made of Ben Doak? I mean, we're fans of Ben, aren't we?
Big time. We spoke about him a lot. Since he came in at Liverpool, I watched a lot of the LFC TV that showed the underage games and stuff. And then when he went to Middlesbrough, he was phenomenal there. But like, they absolutely loved him there. They just couldn't. They had a bad season. They couldn't afford to make an offer to bring him in permanently. I don't know. I think if we get Harvey Elliott out the door, it looks like he could be on his way to Spurs or to Leipzig for big money too. Had a phenomenal summer at the under-21 championships. Player of the tournament, won the tournament. You are a little light because Frimpong will be cover for Bradley, and Doak is quite direct. I'd like to see him get an opportunity, but as you said, like if the right offer comes in, I think they're looking at a loan with the option to buy. They seem to be doing a lot of good business with regarding getting players out with buyback clause and stuff. This obviously will be a loan with an option to buy, and then I'd imagine a massive sell-on clause. But I think given game time every week with the likes of Leeds or West Ham, I think he could cement his place in a starting 11. He's very direct. He's not afraid of what's in front of him either. He's like Rio Ngomo, and he chips in with goals and assists. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with Ben Doak, but maybe it is away from Liverpool.
Yeah, you would imagine his directness as well would link up well with Isaac as well. Because if you look at Isaac, when you had Jacob Murphy playing so direct last season, and you'd Harvey Barnes eventually came in playing so direct as well, that's when Isaac was at his most dangerous and stuff like that and all, So if you're getting the directness of Ben Doak on one side, we know how direct Cody is, but we know how direct Rio can be as well. And Ekitike looks like he's all direct. very exciting times. And then obviously Vert's in the background there as well, who just looks up and just wants to move the ball forward to pick that pass at such pace and stuff like that. It's really been a very interesting pre-season insofar as they have tried a few little things and stuff like that. But I think we might see an interesting setup come Sunday, and very interesting against Bournemouth on the Friday and stuff like that. And of course, under the lights, you want to get off to a great start. Yeah, so I mean, we've nearly covered everything there. We covered Harvey and stuff like that.
Right, buddy.
In terms of Nunes moving out, and obviously Alexander Isak potentially coming in, Keith asks us, do we get the deal over the line? I think we're ready to get the deal over the line. I think Newcastle have a problem on their hands. They have a player there who they left out of pre-season, who they basically ostracized. And it wasn't their fault. It was his fault or whatever fault it was. Now they've come back. He's training on his own. He wasn't invited to the team party to kick off the season with the families and the kids and all. So obviously feels very outside of things there. He seems to have made it very clear he only wants to play football elsewhere, and that elsewhere is Liverpool. I can't see anything only this deal being done. Can you?
No, I've seen Shearer as well has started to stick the knife in as well, saying he wants him gone. I've seen people saying that Liverpool fans are hypocritical because of the way this is kind of playing out the same way Trent, but it's two completely different scenarios. Trent's contract is running out. He'd given everything to Liverpool for most of his life. He'd won everything. Like I was livid over the situation, but when you take time to reflect on what's happened with Jota and stuff like that, and you're just like, you only get one chance in your career, you know. And if Real Madrid think he's good enough, you know, what was he expected to do in the situation? You know what I mean? But this one with Isak, he's given everything to Newcastle since he came in. You know, I believe in January he had to sit down with Newcastle and told them that, look, whether we get Champions League football or not, I'm looking at new challenges. I'd imagine he got wind of something coming from Liverpool, and yeah, but Newcastle, I'd imagine, obviously didn't take too kindly to that situation being put upon them, but I believe this has been in the motion from the start of the summer, and Newcastle are just digging their heels in. But yeah, what you want the lad to do? He wants to go and win trophies. He thinks it's possibly a chance.
Remember, this is the same Shearer who told us to cheerlead Alexander Arnold all the way over to Real Madrid, and that we should be happy for the boy and all this kind of thing.
If anything, does that not make him hypocritical?
100%.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think the deal gets done. I think it'd be a very difficult situation. Now, I get the Newcastle situation, and look, I'm sure Alexander Isak has looked at this as well and said, okay, we won a Carabao Cup last season. We got into the Champions League. They're certainly not built in any way, shape, or form for a Champions League and a Premier League season ahead. It's going to be really, really difficult on them, and they could struggle in both because the net effect of, you know, you have a bad performance on a Tuesday or Wednesday, you're going to carry that into a Saturday or Sunday. It's very, very difficult. We know from our own history and all how difficult it is to balance both. And they've been turned down by everyone and their sister. They got Ramsdale over the line. No one really wanted the guy. They got Elanga over because they were the only one in there and they paid top wage for him. But they've been turned down now by about 10 or 11 players at this stage. And I wonder, is Alexander Isak looking at that as well and going, this is not a good situation here. We're trying to develop a team here. We're trying to kick on. We're trying to upgrade positions. We're trying to do all this kind of stuff. And it's a real struggle. They can't get guys to commit to Newcastle for one reason or another. You're saying there the other day with Man United now, it looks like they got Sesko, they got Mbuemo, they've gotten a couple of players, and Cunha, these players that Newcastle were looking for, you know, and everyone said after the season that there's Newcastle now, you know, they have Champions League football, you know, fifth in the Premier League. You know, everything is good. There should be no reason why they can't get players in. Can't get players over the line. Now they're going. Now they've been linked with Jackson off Chelsea, who apparently are looking for 80 million for the boy, which is insane. They'll probably get good money from him. They're also being linked with Visa off Brentford. So I don't know. It's an interesting conundrum at the moment, but they're surely not going to sit on Alexander Isak for the next season, where he doesn't
No,
want to be there. Like,
I believe they've made movement on Colin Mawani, PSG on loan at Juventus, I think last season. Believe that they're in deep discussions about that move. So I think they've kind of resigned themselves to he is going to leave. I believe a second bid is incoming, a massive second bid is incoming. Obviously, they're going to dig their heels in. The Chelsea situation with Jackson, I'd imagine they don't want Newcastle to buy Jackson unless they're willing to cough up mad money. Because they know then that Liverpool gain Isak, and it's a game of chess at the top. Chelsea have brought in their 737 player in 4 years yesterday. So they're looking at what they're building, and I've said it for the last few weeks. I think Chelsea could be there or thereabouts. They look absolutely phenomenal on paper. Whether they can do it on the pitch together is another thing. But
they look brilliant. They look brilliant in the Club World Cup as well, and they've had a brilliant preseason as well. They really look the part.
They look the dark horses for me. Everyone's saying
obviously
that Liverpool.
Caldwell obviously is the kicker, gone for the season.
Well, Hato coming in, Hato was an outstanding. I'm raging we didn't make a move there.
I watched it. I wanted him in. You know that I spoke about him since May or whatever it is. Looks really, really good tonight. Really, really good tonight.
Very assured. He reminds you of. I'm not making comparisons. I've only seen Hato for probably a year, 18 months at most. But he's like Virgil van Dijk. He's very composed.
Yeah.
He's future Chelsea captain in my opinion.
He has that Rudiger aggression about him as well. Like, but he can play left back, and he can also play left sided if you wanted to go with a different formation with a 3 or something. So versatile as well.
I'd imagine he's a long term. He would have been the ideal successor for Virgil van Dijk, but I'd imagine that's who he's going to replace in the Dutch team. When Van Dijk steps away in a couple of years, I'd imagine Hato's going to step in, and that'll be his for about 10 years.
Yeah, I hope Keith's in there with Rio and all getting chances when we have games finished off and stuff like that. I hope he gets good chances as well between the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup and stuff like that as well. And look, there's going to be a lot of games to be played and stuff like that, but the next couple of weeks are going to be very interesting to see what Liverpool does in terms of the forward line and that left wing position and stuff. That obviously, I think a defender's coming in. There's no doubt about it. The question is who it's going to be, and maybe that conversation happens on Sunday with Crystal Palace, and that's where the deal is struck. We shall see. And he goes
up and lifts the Community Shield with Van Dijk. He does after the game.
Can you imagine?
I'm fucking leaving.
Do you think the day Friday that gets done on deadline day or before? It gets done before it, isn't it? You're not going to do a 130 million deal on deadline day. That's not just the way it works. Now, having said that, I think Newcastle is our second game, isn't it? At St. James's. But then
they don't want that.
But not only do they not want that, they're highly unlikely. Like, how are they going to play him? Like, he's literally had, and it's going to be a problem for us as well, because he's literally had no preseason. I know he's kept fit and he was over in Sociedad and all, training and stuff like that and all, but you need to have that preseason with your teammates to get that understanding and stuff like that, you know? Yeah, absolutely.
Let's just worry about winning a trophy.
Yeah, let's just worry about that. Yeah. Right. Let's talk about let's have a quick chat then about ins and outs. I'll have it here, so I know it's a bit small there for you on the screen. So Ian, obviously you got Ekitike and Eintracht Frankfurt, Jeremy Frimpong, Kerkez. These are the ones we spoke about. Marmadashvili was already done. Pekski's looks all right, Armin. He's come in, he looks decent, not too bad at all. Verts has obviously been the big one. Freddie Woodman, I like the look of. And obviously Will Wright as well. You spoke to me the other day about it coming in from Salford as well. What have you made overall? What you're thinking on this? A lot of talk going around at the moment that some of the money being used for this is money that came through the PIF in terms of the golfing project through FSG and various other conversations going around, because people just are in shock at how FSG is acting in this window. What's your overall thinking about why they're acting this way? And is it necessarily that we just didn't spend last season? Klopp was gone. We didn't want to spend in that window. Obviously, Slot was coming in. We wanted to see what way that would go before we pulled the trigger and spend a lot of money. Or do you think there's something more to this?
No, as you know, and as anyone that watches the podcast knows or listens, I probably despise FSG more than anyone else on the planet. And I always thought, where's the money going that you've milked out of the club throughout all the success? We never invested. We won Champions Leagues. We never invested. We won the Premier League. We never invested. We never capitalised on success. I do believe with the Man City team that we were faced upon, that there was, bar the season when we won the league, we were rampant that season, but there was a lot of times where we rode our luck to stay side by side with them, and we got pipped at the line a couple of times. But I was always heavily critical of, we never seemed to seize on an opportunity to bring in I always wanted a big name, but you were always kind of destined for failure. As Darren says, it's the hope that kills you. But I came across this guy on YouTube. I'd love to have his name to give him a shout out. But I think I remember telling you. So we broke down the financial situation at Liverpool with FSG in 5 stages, and it started at buying the club, getting us out of administration or close to it. So apparently saving us.
There's normally 2. It's Mo Chatra, is it, or Swiss Ramble?
It's an American guy. He's a Liverpool fan. Yeah, he's brilliant. The way he broke it down, like at the end of the whole situation of watching it, I was actually not a fan of FSG, but I completely understood everything the way he broke it down. But he broke it down into 5 situations that FSG bought the club, they cleared up the mess, they got that back room together, they brought in Jurgen Klopp. Now we were successful in that period with Jurgen Klopp. So what they looked at, he says, was they looked at the situation with Man City and said, right, well, they're only going to get stronger as time goes on. We seem to be doing perfectly fine. Bar, like your Van Dijk coming in, your Alisson coming in, 1 or 2 players coming in. There was no major investment. Everyone slags us about the Coutinho money. I think we're spending the Jordan Ibe money at this stage. But he brought it around to now. Look at Man City, major overhaul. So what Liverpool have done is, they've sat back and waited until absolutely necessary, which is now. They gave Slot this season. Slot asked for last season to be, give me a season with what I have. We won the league, but he's seen throughout that season that some players aren't going to take that step up. That they're not going to force anybody out of the team to make a place their own. So this has been absolutely necessary. I'm absolutely ecstatic. I said it to you, said it to everybody. It feels like we're in dreamland. I've never known us to spend any kind of money to go to spending like astronomical money now, and we're still looking at getting 3 or 4 more players in. So keep it coming. But it just, for me, puts a lot of pressure on next season. It's a massive overhaul. As you said, it was 2 or 3 more players to come in. So it's a massive overhaul, and that's why I don't see us overly as massive favourites. There's a lot of gelling to be done in the team, so I'm excited, but at the same time, there is that tinge of anxiety.
Yeah. Well, for me, with me, the expectation is always to win whatever we're in for. That's I feel is an obligation and an expectation. So at any stage, but it's going to be very different. Obviously, Diaz and Nunez, and obviously the Diogo Jota situation as well. And, and obviously we got some of the younger players going out. And if Harvey goes, Jarrell's gone, Queeveen's gone as well. There's going to be a very different vibe in there as well. And it's going to be extremely, extremely interesting to see. And obviously then you're not going to get away with what you got away with before, because obviously last season, even if we didn't win the Premier League, we probably would have got a pass because Klopp's first season gone, Slot's first season in, all this kind of thing. We didn't spend any money. We brought in Chiesa. That was really it. And that's how they, we could have been understanding. I think we just came out of the blocks and then there was nothing stopping us once we got ahead. And hopefully that's what we do this season as well. We come out of the blocks, build up a bit of a lead and just maintain it week in, week out the way we did would be absolutely fine, In terms of players going out, obviously Trent, we don't need to dwell on it. It was a saga, really, Owen Beck going out on loan to Derby. Super player, Owen Beck.
Absolutely outstanding. I think there was a lot of requests for his loan signature. I think there was 1 or 2 in the Premier League as well. But I think the manager at Derby is someone that he trusts. Someone that's keeping him grounded, and we're only hearing good things. So I'm excited to see what next season brings from him. If he has another good season at Derby, I think that he could be, I imagine Robbo hasn't much time left, that he could come in and another homegrown lad finding his way into the squad.
Luis Diaz, the Bayern Munich, obviously would be one. I mean, at times last season, this became very frustrating. But Luis Diaz, obviously a fabulous player out there on the left wing for us and stuff like that. But that constant kind of input of whispers and corridor talk from the dad and stuff like that, I know it roiled me and you up at times last season, that we were just sick of it, especially the background to the kidnapping and everything else and how we supported the family and stuff like that. It was a bit strange and stuff like that and all, but obviously we wish Luis Diaz all the best and all, and he was a very good player for us and stuff like that. But yeah, I think that would be a situation where we'd be glad to get rid of that background noise.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought I was at to mute myself there.
No.
Yeah, the DS situation. I'm not going to dwell on it too much, but as I said, it's very, very frustrating. What the lengths the club went to help with the situation with his father, and then I believe that his father just every 3 or 4 weeks was just leaking stories to the papers. I think we kind of knew for 5 or 6 months that he was ready to go. I don't think he was ever interested in signing a new deal. But look, we got very good money for him. He had his moments. He helped us in a lot of our success.
Absolutely.
And best of luck in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Yaros on loan out to Ajax and stuff like that. Stocky little keeper and stuff like that. I did like watching him. Quavine to Brentford. Is this a decision maybe that Quavine might regret, with Thomas Frank leaving the building and Buema leaving the building, Vissa probably leaving the building, Norgard left the building, and probably a lot of talk about Nathan Collins.
I was surprised that we're actually linked with Nathan Collins. I was absolutely wasn't surprised that Kelleher left, but I was surprised at the lack of interest from bigger clubs across Europe. Kelleher, I'd be one of his biggest fans. But I'd probably be putting, if Brentford lose the players that are mentioned with exits coming soon, I think they could be in the conversation for relegation. And to go from being nearly as good as Alisson at Liverpool, to having that opportunity to go and play every week, in my opinion, you could play in any of the top 3 or 4 teams across Europe, bar 1 or 2. To now facing the prospect of slugging out. He's a good keeper, but I don't think he's going to be good enough for what's incoming when the season starts.
And it just felt so strange that he literally walked through the door at Brentford, and literally a week to 10 days later, Thomas Frank goes to Spurs. Such a strange one, you know what I mean? It was just crazy. Weird, because I'm sure one of the key draws of going to Brentford is they play really nice brand of football. They're well coached under Thomas Frank. Now we have Keith Andrews in there who's taken over and given up obviously the technical side of things in there and all. Would you be worried about Brentford under Keith Andrews?
Absolutely. I think everybody was once the stories were leaked that he was getting the job. It was at Brentford. Brentford went from being kind of on the precipice of European football. Since they arrived in the Premier League, they were absolutely fantastic. They got rid of Ivan Toney. They brought in 3 or 4 players to replace him, and they've stayed consistent. And maybe probably could have finished last season a bit better, but they're a very assured team. I think everybody that went to play them away from home was worried. And then, as you said, for Kelleher to walk into the club, and then 10 days later, Frank to leave, and then just an avalanche of the top players leaving. The spine of that team is gone. It looks like Nathan Collins is probably going to move on. You'd be, if I was a Brentford fan, I'd be absolutely breaking it. But definitely in the conversation for relegation. You're probably looking at the 3 teams coming up and saying they're probably definitely going back down, but just 2 or 3 more players leave Brentford with so little time to replace them, and I think that they could definitely be nailed on for relegation.
Do you know what it is? I have a sneaky feeling about Leeds and about Sunderland. Have you seen the business Sunderland have done? Sunderland are signing a lot of players, and Leeds as well have that money there now. They have that ownership. So Certainly, I think both those teams could give it a good go this season, and I wouldn't be surprised. I'd be more worried about Burnley than any of them, So, but certainly Brentford would be one that I'm looking at. Bournemouth as well, if they start losing more players as well. They've already lost Hoyson, they lost Kerkez, to name a few, If they lost more as well, it could be interesting for them as well. And Wolves, I would imagine, need to do a bit more business as well, losing Nate Nuri and such. Tyler Morton to Olympic Lyon. Tyler was one that we had hopes would break through, but seems to be on that kind of rebound all the time. Comes in, looks really, really well sometimes in pre-season, and then goes back out the door and stuff like that. But I think it's probably getting to a stage now with Tyler Morton that it was needed. He needs to solidify his career somewhere and make that his career. And maybe, I don't know, what you think, put Liverpool behind him at this stage, maybe? Or
yeah, I think he's another one that he was never going to be afforded massive game time or massive opportunity unless your cup games against minnows were coming in or whatever. Just with the players that are in front of him, he is an exceptional player. I highly rate him, as you know. But I just think that, and maybe look, the conversation was had, and I appreciate the conversation being had and the decision being made, because he could maybe have said, look, I'll stay for another year and slug it out and see where I can get. But I like the cut of some of these lads that know they have the talent to play somewhere every week. And look, in my opinion, I think he'll go to France for a year or two, and we would see him end up back in the Premier League or maybe at the top level of the Championship. But it's good to see that lads have that belief in themselves, because there are a lot of players that have ruined careers by just staying at clubs for maybe 1 or 2 years longer than they should have, and their opportunity has come and gone.
Yeah, I suppose the difficulty as well, like this transfer window has obviously been an eye opener for a lot of these players, because obviously we've gone helter skelter in the window in terms of signing players, and if that's going to be kind of somewhat of the pattern going forward, that we're going to go out and buy players and stuff like that the way we do when we need them, stuff like that. That gives these players less opportunity, even, because we're literally bypassing them and they don't have that pathway into the first team, So yeah, I think some of those players, and we spoke about Harvey and a few others as well, and I'm sure eventually Curtis Jones will come into the conversation as well at some stage, just not at the moment. Nat Phillips off to West Brom, and obviously Jarrell playing with Bayer Leverkusen this evening. So yeah, interesting ones there as well. Right, that kind of rounds it up. Yeah, Keith, I think Virgil van Dijk and Salah were sat down and they were told, this is where we're going with this project now. And I think that was a big part of the two boys going, right, I'm going to re-sign. Because I just would have been worried otherwise, Do you think they will? Do you think this will be Robbo's last year with the club, or can you see him getting a 1-year extension? What you think, Dino?
Robbo? I think it's actually a hard choice. I think Kerkez will start on Sunday. We'll get to that. But I think Robbo still has a good season left in him. I'm surprised that Tsimikas hasn't been muted for a sale. I'd imagine Robbo knows that the legs are going a little bit, but I'd imagine he believes in himself that he can still give to one last season and try and get a couple more trophies. But I think that he'd be happy to stick it out this season and battle it out for first choice left back. I do think Kerkez will eventually take the spot if he performs like he did last season. But maybe next year he could look at the move to Celtic. I know he said he wanted to finish out his career at Celtic, but I think even going into next season he could be a reliable backup. It's just in himself whether he believes that, stick it out one more year or go to Celtic and play every week and be an integral part of winning the league.
We've seen Robbo in pre-season playing at the back, central. Could we end up with a situation where we have Kerkez and we have Costas, and that Robbo is that cover for central defence? I know it's not ideal, and I know at times it doesn't work out, but it's kind of less leggy on him as well, isn't it, if you're central, as opposed to if you're bombing up and down the wing all the time and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know. It's just interesting little things where they were testing things during pre-season. It's obviously not the ideal situation, because obviously we might have Gahey might come in or stuff like that, or this other boy you spoke about at Parma, I think it is, in Italy. But we need to sign a central defender, but I just wonder, are they testing Robbo there to provide not necessarily the direct cover you get from a Gahey, but that cover that we get from a Joe Gomez, who's obviously injured now. I know Slot today turned around and said that the Gomez injury is not a season long or a half season long. He should be back reasonably soon. So if that's the case, you'll have Joe there as cover, and could you potentially have Robbo as well? And then you have obviously Kerkez and Costas, and this may be why Costas hasn't been moved on, that this is now their thinking.
Hold on, I'm losing my signal here. It's hold on. Yeah, go on. Sorry, can you just say that again?
Yeah, no, what I was saying was basically when you look at Robbo, at times in the preseason, he's played central defence. So I wonder, is the thinking why they haven't moved Costas on, that you're going to have Kerkez and Costas as backup, and you might have Robbo as that versatile player to play across the back if needed in central defence, like what Joe Gomez does. But obviously with the thoughts of bringing in obviously Mark Gahey as well and making sure that we have him in there as well as the direct backup.
I think that's what we could see happen if we don't bring in Gahey. I thought about as a lad in work, Shane. He's my me info guy for transfers and stuff because I'm not on social medias. But he spoke about it, saying that if we were in to get a centre back in, that probably the obvious choice would be for Robbo. And I'd imagine that he believes in himself to come in and cover for Van Dijk, or we've seen Endo coming in, who's probably one of the smallest players on the pitch, coming in from CDM to play a centre back. So I wouldn't be too upset with or worried with that happening. I would imagine that will only happen if Gahey comes in, doesn't come in. But I think it could have a knock-on effect if Gahey comes in. That's what could see Costas pushed out the door. I'd say that's why they're not pulling the trigger on Costas being sold.
Yeah, hasn't been any links really of him moving away anyway, by the looks of things. So maybe they're trying to just figure out. Yeah, there's a lot of pieces at the moment. There's a lot of jigsaw pieces here moving around before they snap into position. But we'll obviously see it over the next number of weeks. Just to let you know, let's keep you up to date here. Chelsea won 2-0 against Leverkusen. Brentford drew 2-2 against Mönchengladbach. Newcastle drew 2-2 against Espanyol. Still no goals in the Premier Division here at the moment. Derry Cork 0-0, draw to Waterford 0-0. And then in the First Division, still 2-0 to Cove against Bray. Dundalk 3-1 up. Kerry 1-0 down to Finn Harps. And still 0-0 with the Students and Wexford. And just to let you know, Birmingham have just taken the lead, I think, against Ipswich. The goal in the 55th minute, actually, so about 6 minutes ago. Stansfield with the goal, the guy who's been heavily, you've seen a lot of him in this Birmingham Blues documentary. Now, go ahead.
Just on Dundalk, I'd imagine with Cove beating Bray, that Dundalk win should kind of cement them going back up. I can't see Bray getting back into the picture there, as you were saying.
They've just gone 4-1 up there as well. Now Cove are pretty close as well, but Cove missed out a few weeks ago where they were in the driving seat, and then Dundalk got a late equaliser against them or something like that. But there we go. Right, let's get in. Let's talk why we are here. Community Shield. Let's talk teams and all the rest of it. And let me know. You have a look at yours. Mine is there. There's plenty of debatable points. Let us know in the chat as well. If you have any changes you'd like to make, is this the team you would go with? How do you feel about the Palace team? I obviously seen them over at Anfield. It's not much different, this Palace team, from that team, really. The one thing I'd be concerned about Palace at the moment is there's a number of players there at the moment linked with moves away. And is their head thinking more about moves away rather than risking themselves in a Community Shield? What way are they going to... We know that this is like the curtain raiser for the season. It's not that big a deal. It's Community Shield. It's only big in Mikel Arteta's world. But, if you look at it there on the face of it, Mark Gahey linked with move away, Wharton linked with moves away, Eberechi SA linked with Arsenal, heavily linked with Arsenal, Mateta linked with moves away. So that's kind of the spine of your team there, you know what I mean?
Your man Munoz as well, the defender, he's linked to like literally every one of their main men Like if they were to lose two off that list, it could be catastrophic
Yeah.
for them. They haven't overly invested. They brought in a new left back, Borna Sosa from Torino, a Croatian young lad, never heard of him, and Walter Benitez from PSV, the Argentine goalkeeper. But other than that, they haven't invested at all. Both sales or both purchases were relatively small fees. So like I know they've European Conference football next season, but you've Arsenal knocking on the door for Eze, you've United and Liverpool, and you've teams muted with going from Matete. I know United have gone and got Sesko now, but these are all teams that were muted with going from Matete. Sam Wharton, he's linked with a move to Liverpool. Like if they to lose two could be catastrophic for them, but they could possibly lose the lot of
them. Yeah, and the problem is it could happen in a time frame where Glasner doesn't have the time to bring in what he wants, unless he's already identified his targets. And it's only a case of switching one out for the other and stuff like that because he has people lined up maybe. But on the back of like a slow start to the season last year, but then came really good at the back end of the season and stuff like that and all, and we could really see that Glasner football coming through and stuff like that. So this would be a killer if they lost those players and didn't have the time to plug those gaps and stuff like that. I'm sure they're lining up players with the thoughts of Gahey leaving there. It is not new. It's not something new. Plenty of teams are in for him. Wharton has been spoken about even last season. Eze has been spoken about for seasons. Mateta for seasons. You know, so it's important that they line it up. But in a game like this, you know, it should be fairly interesting. Obviously, we know where the danger's coming from. You know, very good from set pieces. Like to try and get an early goal and shut shop down. We know how powerful Eze is when he gets on the ball. Mateta's an absolute pest for any defense. Sarr, so talented as well. That pivot of Wharton and using the midfield is a real damage in there. They can really control midfields at times. Natalia Klein is probably the weaker link on the right-hand side, and obviously Mitchell on the left-hand side always likes to bomb forward and stuff like that. Henderson and goals as well always brings that kind of shit house as well. So certainly it won't be easy. These are the FA Cup winners and stuff like that. Let's talk about Liverpool. What you're thinking in terms of Liverpool? Yeah, did you have a look at what you picked out compared to what I have there on the screen?
Relatively close to what you went with. I was thinking at first about all of the new signings starting the game, but I think they've all played a relatively big part to pre-season because we got them in early. So I think Sunday is probably a switched on starting 11 that we'll probably be looking at for Friday night against Bournemouth. I've gone with Mamardashvili in goal, solely because Alisson's probably not match ready because he was away in Brazil. But I think he'll start on Friday. Should be back.
What have you made of him in pre-season? Have you been impressed with him? I know he had to mess up with Costas in the AC Milan game, but I mean that was like a kind of a blip. But he's looked pretty assured, hasn't he?
He's very confident in himself, and that's what you want from your goalkeeper. Alisson's the very same. I don't think he's anywhere near the level of Alisson just yet. Hopefully he gets there, but there's not many keepers on the planet in that on that level of goalkeeper that Alisson is on. But he's been very assured. He's very confident in himself. He obviously has them couple of laps. But look, he's only in the door. He's settling in. He looks the makings of a very good goalkeeper, and I think he's got a bit of a mad side as well, which you want out of your goalkeeper too.
He likes to hang on to the ball, doesn't he? He likes to hang on to the ball, which is a bit worrying at times.
I think he'll like to demand a lot from his centre halves when he plays, and that's another thing you want. That's what the old school Peter Schmeichel and stuff like that you want from your goalkeepers, which Alisson does very well too. But right back, I've gone with Conor Bradley. Again, I just think he's looking at the starting 11 for Friday night. Bournemouth, as we know, are very, very good on the wings and on the counter. So I think Bradley, just for the Premier League now, Frimpong is he's going to have a massive impact on the team. But I just think Bradley for Sunday for just the safe head. Van Dijk and Kanate centre back. There's no one else there really to play, but they're going to be starting Friday night, so went with the two boys, and then Kirk has a left back. I was thinking about Robbo out of respect for having a good season. Well, he had a good latter half of the season. But I was thinking that out of respect, Robbo would probably start. But then I thought to myself, we've all seen Kirkes last season. There's no settling in period needed. The boy is probably in the top 5 left backs in world football on the back of last season. So I'm very, very excited for him to come in next season. Gravenberch and McAllister, obvious choice.
They were saying Grav is suspended after the sending off, but I think Keith made the point it's in the Premier League, isn't it? I don't think he's suspended for this game, as far as I know.
Well, I haven't heard anything, so
that was my thinking of putting him in. So I'm not too sure. Maybe if he is, then it's what are you looking at then? Probably Dom Curtis.
Yeah, straight swap. Dom Mac will sit and Dom will do the run, the walk in the middle of the park. Obviously Salah, I think it kind of wrote itself. Salah, Verts, Gakpo, and Ekitike. I did originally have down Rio because I'm such a big fan. I believe he's ready. He's going to be as good as anything we've ever seen, in my opinion. If he stays injury free, he's fearless. He's just the stuff he does with the ball at his feet that you're just asking how and telling yourself, wow. But Gakpo has been outstanding. I think he'll make that position his own if he stays injury free. Had a great season last season across all competitions, in my opinion, and I'm really, really excited if we don't bring in a left back for Gakpo to stay injury free and make that position his own. That the only concern is, can he stay injury free? And that's why I think we'll go in for another left winger. But Gakpo starting on Sunday and then Ekitike. I wasn't quite sure about the price tag, but our good friend Dazzler, he kind of settled the nerves. He told me a lot about him, and then I've watched him in pre-season. He's physical. He's great with the ball at his feet. He's direct. Can play out wide. He was great in pre-season in a couple of the games, holding players off and making that little yard of space to get away with the ball, drawing frees on the edge of the box. So, yeah, I'm excited for Sunday. I really am.
He's kind of like Thiago, isn't he? Where he sees that pass through the eye of a needle that opens things up as well, isn't he? Did you see some of them? Yeah. I know some of them in pre-season didn't come off, but you could see exactly what he was trying to do in terms of, and especially with Frimpong playing on that outside and stuff like that, coming around the back of Mo Salah and stuff. He was playing these little passes in and stuff like that and all. This at the moment, we're looking at 4-2-3-1. Do you see 4-2-3-1 being that? Or do we go back eventually to a 4-3-3 at times where we accommodate Dom? Could you see a situation where Verts plays in a false 9 then? Then what happens if Isaac comes in? Where does it all shift? Or I think if Alexander Isaac comes in, I think we're going to be nailed on a 4-2-3-1, aren't we?
Yeah, I think that's the conundrum everyone's thinking. But you know what? It's refreshing to see because we've always kind of just been one way. You know, under Klopp, we were one way. We knew what was coming in games. It was just going to be helter-skelter. But it's good to see he's tried a few new things. I think he's trying to figure out what players to play in systems. If Isaac comes in, you can have Ekitike on the left. The false 9, it worked brilliantly with Bobby. And that's probably a front three we could see for some games in Salah, Verts and Gakpo. You know, we're going to have to manage game times. A lot of games coming up. A World Cup year as well. So yeah, it for me it's a great option to see the players coming in that can see us change. You know, if a game is drab, you're looking to get a bit more attacking. You know, you can bring on 1 or 2 players, a few little tweaks. Or if you're 2 attacking and you want to just kind of control the game, 1 or 2 substitutions, and then you're playing a lot deeper. So it's good. Again, it's good to see us bringing in players for competition in the team, but it's also bringing in players that change the style of play. You know, it looks like we've 3 or 4 options there, which in my opinion, I love that. It's very exciting.
Yeah, it's very difficult as well if you're an opposition coach and team trying to figure out, because the one thing we know about Slot as well that he's very good at doing as well is changing mid-game or in a game as a game evolves. When he sees something and he doesn't think it's sitting quite right, he's very quick to change it, which is something that we often moaned about with Jurgen Klopp at times, that he was nailed onto a certain thing and it got frustrating at times when it wasn't working in the low block or whatever it is, and the subs didn't happen when they should and all that kind of stuff. I think with Slot, he identifies it very quickly. If a sub needs to be made, he's no problem doing it. The timing is irrelevant. And also in terms of changing that formation and tweaking it to, try and create an overload wherever he needs it to break down a low block or whatever it is. So he's so many options there now, because you look at it, when we went into this transfer window, never did I think I'd be putting up a team here for the Community Shield and Dom wouldn't be in it. Now, I might be wrong. Dom might be in the starting 11. Who knows? But it's going to be interesting to see then. Do you go with a 4-3-2-1? Isaac up top if we sign him, and you have Verts in behind, Salah more central or something like that too there, either side of the box with Isaac central kind of thing, in that Bobby type style as well with that front three, so it's going to be really, really interesting. So many options there and stuff like that. I do think we'll see a lot of players, and I think we'll see a bunch of substitutions as well on Sunday in the game as well. That's why I'm not overly worried about it in terms of, look, it's just Community Shield, and I just want to see some patterns of play. I want to see some real good passage stuff, and I want to see players linking up the way they should now, getting to know each other. That's why I'd like to see Frimpong and Salah. They seem to be creating something there in pre-season and stuff. I'd like to see a little bit more of it. At times, Frimpong has been electric right to the byline, and just when he gets the byline, he just makes that wrong decision at times, but absolutely electric,
Yeah, very, very exciting. Just what you were saying about the signings, and you didn't think you'd be having to start 11 down with no Dominic. If you would have sat down at the start of the summer with a wish list of players that if we had money, we'd buy, there's probably 2 or 3 names that we're going to have in our squad when the season begins that would have been on the wish list. But imagine if you put down a list beside it with the reality of what we will buy, none of those players would have been on it. It felt like we were talking about this like 2 kids when we brought in the first year 4 and saying like this is like a dream. So yeah, like it is why I completely get what you're saying about like where a player's gonna set in. But again, I go back to reiterating what I said. Like it's very exciting because I always screamed at the telly on the clock because nothing changed. It was the same thing every single week. And what it was gas way of saying about the wrong substitutions. That was the birth of the just bring Diogo on, wasn't
it? Yeah. Absolutely, yeah, it was mad, like and but the thing about it is, there was times where we were calling for Jota to come on at halftime, at 35 minutes, at 30 minutes, when it wasn't working out and it wasn't going right, and you still wouldn't see him until 60 or 65, so it just goes to show. But yeah, it should be an interesting spectacle, all right. And obviously we've plenty of history with Crystal Palace as well. They're generally always very good games. But I'm excited to see now. Do you know what's going to be really interesting this season as well? To see just how Slot, he kind of tends to like to manage quite a tight group. And now he has a lot of different choices and formations and everything to pick from. It's going to be interesting to see the dynamic of him as a coach as well. And how he embraces this and keeps everyone happy.
Do you know what I'm very, very excited about? I was only thinking about this earlier on today when I was doing me notes, which is my new thing for me, my mind, for the coming season for the podcast. And I would sit down, take an hour to myself, and just do everything. On that clock, we had the academy boys that came through, Jaden Dans, Morton, all those boys, Lewis Kilmas, all them boys coming in and having a huge impact, winning a trophy. When our backs were against the wall and our arses were on the floor, like we literally were down to nothing in the squad. And the boys came in and won us a League Cup, which was these boys like absolutely Sam. I'm looking forward now. A lot of them have moved on loans, or we've got good money for them. Some of it's worked out for, a lot it hasn't. But I'm looking forward to this bunch that's coming in now under Slots to see how he manages them, how he integrates the kids into the squad, and what kind of impact they have. We've seen this lad Will Wright coming in from Salford. That looked like it was done deal to Arsenal. I watched clips of him again, YouTube, and like he is his ceiling level is sky high. We've seen a couple of glimpses of him. I think he should have scored in one of the games that he played in. I think he did score in one of the games. Did he score against?
He may have.
Wellity Lucky, young English lad, a defender. He's coming through. Obviously, we have trainee only Nala. Dan's, there hasn't been much on Dan's. I've seen he was in the squad the other day, and there hasn't been much on him moving on. So they could be waiting to see if we bring Isaac in. I do believe we will, but they might be waiting to see if they should pull the trigger on that. You know, will he get a chance if we don't get Isaac in? If that drags out and we end up not getting them, you're light then up top. So they could be waiting on a couple of players coming in before they pull a trigger on a few ones. But yeah, that's something I'm excited about, is the slot generation coming in now and seeing how they fit in and what kind of success they'll have.
Yeah, it's so exciting at the moment, and for us, it's just we're blown away by it because we never expected this. You know, we FSG don't move this way, so you know we're kind of enjoying it and we're loving it, and it should have happened a long time ago, and you know we're enjoying it now, obviously, but there's always that hesitation in the background as well. What are these guys up to? Why are they suddenly doing this now? Or are we Qatar bound? Are we PIF bound? What are we? Are PIF gonna? You know, are they gonna move away from the Newcastle project and suddenly take on a Liverpool project? What's going? You know, there's obviously something. This is not just FSG, not for 1 minute. You know, so but we shall see. Listen, we'll enjoy it while it's there because we know coming up in a year or two now we're gonna have a problem with Mo and we're gonna have a problem with Virgil. And we're going to have to figure that out as well. And that's going to be absolutely massive when it happens. So there needs to be a huge amount of planning for that going forward and stuff like that. And not to be taken lightly, you know, two guys who came in and absolutely were amazing for us as well, you know. Give us a prediction.
3-1 to Liverpool. Don't care who scores the goals. I have stars beside the name of Verts and Ekatike. I think a lot of people are expecting big things from them. I think Sunday we'll catch a glimpse of just how good these boys are. I'm so excited to watch Florian Wirtz in the flesh. It looks effortless. I do believe. I think a few people, when I mentioned generational talents, they laughed because it's been heard so frequently. But the lad, it just looks effortless to him. It looks like he doesn't even need to try, but he does try. So he gives that 100%, and I just think I think he could be in the conversation for player of the season next season. I know it's a big shout with the pressure on him, with the price that was paid, and it's his fourth season and trying to adapt to England. But I think this boy is going to be absolutely scintillating.
Yeah, do you know what it is? I'm really looking forward on a couple of levels. One, I'm looking forward to hopefully we get an early goal, so it's an open game. Because we really want that spectacle of an open game so we can see what can happen and what can do. But the other thing I'm looking for as well is if we do go a goal down and Palace try to tighten things up, how do we shift and move and try and operate against that? What do we do? And how do things change and do things shift and move and stuff like that? So going to be watching that as well from a tactical formation point of view as well, which will be interesting if that happens. So, yeah, I think I'm with you. I think 3-1 Liverpool. Obviously, I'd love to see Verts and Ekatike and the newer boys get off the market. I think Mo just loves scoring and stuff like that as well. If he doesn't, he'll get an assist anyway. You know? It's
funny that you say that. See what you're saying about like, you hope the worry is you hope we score first and it's an open game and we can see what the boys are about. But your concern is that if we go a goal down, how do we adapt? How do we? Palace will obviously sit deeper. I think if we start Bradley and we do go a goal down, I think then in the second half, if it's still 1-0 close game, or even if it's 0-0, I think then you could see Frimpong coming in for Bradley, and maybe you could push for 3 at the back and then push the two boys up to press on Palace, which again we've never had. So that's another thing to look at with a positive, exciting.
Yeah. Absolutely. Now, nice would it be if we were comfortable in the game that Rio came on and got a goal at Wembley? How class would that be for the young lad as well?
Right.
And in Yoni as well. So it'd be really, really cool to see them maybe if the game was reasonably settled. We'll see. But yeah, 3-1. Hopefully we get it. I think it's coming at us as a 3 o'clock or 3:30 on Sunday. I think 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock.
3
o'clock.
belts.
So
And that's a curtain raiser on the season. And then, of course, we're on the road then. It's Bournemouth then next at Anfield next Friday night, kicking off the season proper.
we're going to
8
do a
o'clock
preview
kickoff.
for that, I believe, are we?
Yeah, we'll do a preview for Bournemouth as well. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so that's it. First one in the can. 9 months of painstaking, loving, torture, joy, highs, lows, everything else,
Getting
all
more
ahead of us and
grace.
stuff like that. Get strapped in. I can't get any more grey, so there you go. I'm all greyed out at this stage. So, but yeah, until next time, folks, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification button, and drop a like on the video. Let us know your thoughts in the comments as well. Keep it going. Let us know your predictions in the chat as well. What way do you think it's going to go? We're thinking 3-1 to Liverpool. Nothing but positivity this year. How could we not be with the signings that we've made? And until next time, have a great weekend.
We will say number 20.